Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoilery gush for Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. As I said, this video will have spoilers in it, so if you haven't read this book, go ahead and check out my spoiler-free review, which we linked on the screen. So overall, I really enjoyed this story. I did find that it had some inconsistencies with characters that kind of got me down, because I think I was so excited about the characters in this story, just based on some of the initial hype and hearing Tomi in interviews and stuff like that. But overall, still really enjoyed this. So when I first opened it and I saw all of the Magi clans, I was hyped. Because what you obviously do when you see a book like that is you're like, where would I be? Where would I fall? And just for myself, I saw the death magic. I saw the Reapers, and I was like, here we go, buckle in, because we have death magic. I am here for it. And I was so signed on for that. I didn't realize before starting the book that she was gonna have death magic, that our main character was gonna have death magic, spirit magic, necromancy, whatever you want to call it, and I loved every second of that. What's so funny is right after I started reading this, I went and saw Tomi Adeyemi at a signing, and they had the little quiz for her book while you were waiting in line for the signing of like, what kind of Magi would you be? And guess what your girl got? A Reaper. It's the Reaper symbol. Yeah. I didn't even try to rig it. Like, I actually answered honestly all the questions, and I got the Reapers because it speaks to my soul. So the fact that we have this more dangerous magic and this magic that you can really explore in so many different ways. You know, it's not just your typical elemental magic, which I love. I love all the elemental magic that we have, but it's elemental magic and beyond. It's not just for clans, it's like 10, and it's all the stuff that we can see and how visual the magic is. I also really enjoy that the magic is tied to their religion and the gods and like praying to the gods for the magic, and that whole like bond. I really love that element of it, and it's just a kind of magic system that you don't typically see. I feel like a lot of magic systems lean more almost like science-y, which I love as well, but having one that's like very strictly tied to like the earth almost, and like nature and bonds with gods, like that speaks to me on so many levels. I definitely noticed the very heavy Avatar: The Last Airbender influence in this. I think that was very apparent. Tomi talks about Avatar like anytime that you see her in interviews, so I knew that was going to happen. So I was almost looking for it as well, but at the same time it's very much in your face that she is an Avatar fan, that this has some basis in her love of Avatar and just kind of everything about like the Fire Nation and stuff like that. Again, I haven't even watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've watched like 3 episodes. I'm going to watch it at some point. But just knowing stuff about it, I was like, oh man, lots of Avatar in here. Which I personally don't think is a detractor by any means. That is a very well-loved series for a reason, and she's just taking some of that influence. All writing and all fantasy stories and any kind of story is going to be influenced by something. So I in no way think that that's like plagiarizing or copying or anything like that. I really happen to enjoy it. I also really like what she did with kind of the playing of both sides, and that no side in this is completely wrong. Well, obviously it's wrong to oppress people. She definitely made that very clear, but she gave reasons and very valid explanations for why the villains feel the way they do and why they are so terrified of the Magi, and you know, like the wiping out of families and the burning of villages and all this stuff. Like, that makes sense, but she also was like, but you still can't oppress people, and we can't do this. So she's kind of showing that all of these characters don't quite have it right yet, and that they have to meet somewhere in the middle, and they have to have some kind of change, be not all one or the other really. And I'll talk about that more when we get to the ending and talking about the ending. But I also discussed in my review that I felt like some of it was a little bit too fast. I love the fast-paced nature of this. I love the action. I couldn't put it down, even though I had to put it down. This book took me like 3 weeks to read because I was so busy. Send help. But I kept wanting to pick it back up, and I kept wanting to know what was going to happen, and I didn't want to stop reading it, so there was that whole element of it. But I do feel like that small amount of time that it took, like a month time, made it so that I felt the relationships weren't quite as believable. Amari and Zelly becoming very, very fast friends didn't annoy me as much as it could have, because I love female friendship and I love that they're so bonded, but at the same time I'm also like, Zelly started out hating this girl, like, really? I don't know. Should they be like soul sisters at this point already? Like, I don't really think so. There were lines in there that was like Zelly saying like, you know, Amari can see right through me because she knows me so well. And I'm like, she's known you for like 3 weeks. Like, really? I don't think that works. And then you have that especially with Zelly and Enon and their relationship and the insta-love. I am so disappointed by that. I am so disappointed by that because all of the talk was about how much Tomi Adeyemi loves Zutara, and Zuko and Katara were just like a very slow burn type thing, and it took a while, and this did not take any time. They met, were fighting, and then he was almost like bridal carrying her, you know? Like, all of these things that are really good, wonderful, juicy tropes for angsty relationships, but it just happened too quickly. Enon especially has very ingrained beliefs with his father, and he's struggling with that constantly, but I found that he flip-flopped with that like way too quickly and way too often, and it just got to the point where it was kind of annoying, unbelievable, and then also borderline predictable because it's like, okay, you're just gonna flip back and forth. Like, we're too early in the book for him to be doing this, you know? We're too early in the series for him to be doing this. Like, he was on a quest to, like, kill her, and then he sees her, and he's like, I'm drawn to her, and she's like, I'm drawn to him, and they're making moon eyes at one another. I'm just like, no! And then they started using love, like, he's like, I have to protect her because I love her, and it's like, you don't know her! You've known her even less time than Amari's known her, and I'm mad that her and Amari are such good friends already. So what is going on? And then the whole like back and forth with the betrayal and he betrays them. It's just like, this could have been more drawn out because now that we've already flip-flopped at the beginning of the story, I'm going to just naturally like it less because of that flip-flopping. I feel like this could have been a more drawn out thing, and they couldn't have even gotten on the same page, been romantic, all this stuff until later on in the series. Like, you didn't need to do all of this in book one. You have a whole series to do this. So that was really disappointing. And I mentioned in my review that I almost feel like this came from a fanfiction basis. So Tomi has said that she wrote fanfiction, she wrote Zutara fanfiction, stuff like that. This felt like, with a lot of, again, the tropes coming in with like the carrying, and some of the things felt very fanfiction-y. I'm not saying that in a bad way. Fanfiction is just its own particular juggernaut. So I feel like with the very small time frame window, that works when you have pre-existing characters that people already love from a canon work. And you're bringing in, and if this was like Zuko and Katara, people would be okay with it because it's like, you're there for that. You know, you're there for them to like get together a little more quickly. You're in it for like the one fan fiction and you're good. This is a original canon story, and we don't have those connections to those characters yet for this to just be okay to be rushed into. I really wanted it to be slow burn. So now something that I was expecting to be one of my favorite things about the series and about the story, because I was just like so hyped for this like angst machine, enemies to lovers dynamic, and now we've already had it like flip-flop a couple different times. I'm just kinda already over it, and it's like that was something that I was looking forward to about this particular story. So the characters changing their minds a bit too quickly about whatever it was something that I found very inconsistent, a little bit jarring about the story, which is why it lost a star rating for me overall. If those things were on point, I would be fine with it. And lastly, we have the ending, which I totally didn't see coming. I still thought we were gonna have like this back and forth, etc. But with everybody now having magic, it seems like everyone's been given magic. We have this whole new dynamic with the villains, like everyone's on equal playing ground, and this whole like equality piece, and how do you oppress people when everybody has magic, like what happens now? And I definitely think that there's a possibility that the king, whose name I'm forgetting, is not dead. I know for a fact Enon's not dead. Like, he's not. You know, like, he blatantly is a super like, oh my god, he died. He didn't. Like, he's definitely gonna be healed in a similar way, probably through the magic all coming, and everyone's gonna have magic, and everyone's healed and whatever. That's what it's gonna be. Something along those lines. So I'm not worried about that. They're gonna have their time to parse out everything with that. Although I also felt like there could be that, like, love triangle element with him and the like pirate guy who came out of nowhere. I wasn't really expecting him, but definitely that element I think is going to come back into play. He's definitely not gone. He's going to be back around. He has a magic that kind of works with and against hers, so I feel like that dynamic is just going to be really interesting as it unfolds. And now with all this magic, we're going to see even more of it because we only got little snippets here and there, and now we're going to see like all of these clans of Magi, and I'm very excited for the implications because we know very, very little. We just have Amari being like, oh look, I have magic. So we have very little like actually being seen about it, and I'm very excited to see what happens with the rest of the series. I think it's going to be a very strong series overall. So like I said, my review ended up giving Children of Blood and Bone 4 out of 5 stars. So comment down below and let me know what you thought of Children of Blood and Bone. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.